Did good.
Good, yeah.
Spin it roll.
Good deal.
Yep, so we can't go homemade brownies or homemade cookies, but they can cook them out on site.
On site, well, you get it.
So-
to the side.
I know.
Good morning and welcome to the Parks and Cemetery Committee meeting. We are live, gentlemen, and we have Councilman Schramm, Councilman Schuyler, and Parks Cemetery Superintendent Marty Peterson. Go ahead, Marty.
Talked with Troy yesterday, couple things. The first one we'll go with is, he wanted to make sure the $10,000 for the roads in the cemetery got encumbered.
No. As I've explained to full council and to, well, everyone, ultimately until all of the revenues are receipted and all expenses are done, which includes personal services, I can't guarantee anything for encumbering.
Okay.
It will be that first meeting of January, so we'll have a finance committee meeting December 2nd. And so I'll give them the resolution that would explain what can and cannot be encumbered. And so it wouldn't happen until January 2nd.
Okay.
And that's by state law. We can't even consider the resolution until the 2024
I think
year.
his biggest thing is he didn't even, he just wanted to remind you, and
Yes.
So-
Yep, it's on my list.
so, there we go.
That's at 10,000, right?
The
Yep,
roads.
Yep.
and just in cemetery.
Yep.
Yeah. So next, you wanted to talk about the state health inspector, the concession stand at Leahy Bowl. We need to add a hand wash sink.
Okay.
Everything else there is and a drying rack. Everything else is in pretty good shape there. Just a few things he learned from talking to the state inspectors, that since it's a state inspected kitchen under our license or certification or whatever, all the food must be prepared there or in another state inspected kitchen. So if you wanted to do it at a restaurant downtown and take it up there, you can, but you can't do it at home.
Okay.
So that's something he wants to put in the next agreement for that.
We have 2 years remaining with the Winter Baseball Association for Leahy Bowl, because they did a 3-year agreement, so we'll have to do an addendum to their contract to note that. And then we will be putting out for bid Bailey's and McDonald's, because it was just a 1-year agreement for both of those.
And those two concession stands have the 3-compartment sink, have the hand wash sink, and we gotta put a drying rack of some kind in there. I don't know what for sure. What's your kitchen like?
A drying rack for the
Utensils,
utensils,
just a wire
Wired
rack.
one, probably?
a wire rack hanging on the wall.
Okay,
Ours at our work is not a wire rack, it's a solid, but it has a drain in it that you hit your head on when you try to do dishes.
okay.
We don't want
We
that.
don't want that.
Ask him to nod his head and let you know.
I would think that an open air rack like you get at True Value, hang it on the wall and let the stuff drip. Yep.
Yep, that'll work. I think we gotta do that in all 3 of them.
Yep.
Another thing said, Troy, the guy mentioned that if you're doing exclusively prepared food, candy bars, microwave sandwiches, but they have to cook the sandwiches, the customer, you don't need the food safe license and stuff for that.
Oh,
And
sure.
we don't want that.
We
We
probably
want
don't
them to have the food safe
Yeah.
license.
Yeah,
Yep.
but I don't, doesn't look like anything we all should be able to deal with, everybody, so.
So I do know that with Bailey's and McDonald's, the Serve Safe certification for several years was actually someone who does have a kitchen, certified kitchen.
Yep.
And so it was my understanding that's where they were preparing them. We don't answer those questions. Ultimately, that person had to answer to the state when
Right.
they got asked the questions. I don't know about Leahy Bowl, how that's working up there, but Lori Wyland was the one that we had as the Serve Safe certification, because she was in cahoots with the person who had the bid for us.
And she was making the things in her kitchen,
That was my
which
understanding.
was licensed, and all we could go by is their word on that.
Right.
Who cares? That's gonna get inspected,
Right.
you know, by these same people that inspect our facility.
Right,
So you just can't be too careful on it.
right.
The
So
other thing at Leahy Bowl, if they want to prepare food out there, the stove that was in there was shot. Craig Bowden said it, then we got rid of it.
Oh,
So, you know, if we want to replace that, or if they want to just cook in electric frying pans, I suppose.
in all the years that I was in charge of that, that stove was there. I think we maybe only turned it on in the spring, when the concession stand was cold, and we would heat the building with the oven open.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we ever,
Yeah, Craig, Craig Boat was here, he went through it for me, looked at it, he said, if you need one, get one, too much money to,
they're $50. I mean, you can buy an electric stove for $50, you know,
yeah.
on any sale. I mean, people sell them all the time, so. But I don't know that we need one up there.
No.
Take the stove out and put a hand wash sink. where
That's
it's-
kind of where I was thinking.
Yeah, because it's right next door to the kitchen sink.
Yeah, plumbing, gotta go through the cabinets, stuff,
Yeah.
we'll get her.
Yeah, that won't hurt a thing, yeah. Will one of those, I'm gonna call them laundry tub, will that qualify for a hand washing sink? Oh, yes, I know it will, because we have that in our kitchen. And that's where our eye wash station is, at that same laundry tub, plastic type of sink.
If that works, that wouldn't be a bad idea to get an eye wash station in here too.
Well, only because it has the little flipper
Yep.
thing on the faucet.
Yep.
You know, yeah. That'd be really cheap to do, then you don't, all you really have to do is get your plumber to hook your water lines up. But we have people do that, don't we, in our water department?
Yeah, I think so.
They can hook
I
up a kitchen sink, and that'd be our most economical. We throw the stove away, don't
That's
replace
gone,
it.
but yeah, but that'd be the place to put it.
Yep.
So am I to understand correctly that the gentleman who was doing our state inspection for years, Mr. Russ Lawrenson, he's no longer doing them, is that correct? We have a new person?
I don't know, I talked to Russ this fall at a football game and mentioned, I said, oh, I see you inspected this. He goes, no, so-and-so did.
Okay.
And I don't know what.
I knew he was on the verge of retirement, so I wondered if that's why all of this was coming through with the
Yeah.
different stuff, because we have a new
Got a
inspector.
new inspector, yeah.
Those are just random, right?
What?
Annually.
Oh, it's for everybody.
Yep,
annually.
so I actually have, so the state already technically approved Bailey's and McDonald's. I have our licenses for 2024 for Bailey's and
Okay.
McDonald's. I think I sent you a copy down. The only one that's pending now is Leahy Bowl. And in previous years, we never had anything at Leahy Bowl. A year and a half ago, Russ inspected it and he said, because of how we've changed this around, you really need to have that be authorized by the state as well under the city's name.
Okay.
So, because we were now putting it out for bid and we were doing it right. We just needed to have it inspected. So we submitted that, 8 months ago to the state to get that approved.
Oh.
And it's been pending this whole time till they could come do an inspection.
And the guy told Troy just send him a picture
Yeah.
when we get it put in.
Yeah, he was great to talk to. He actually called me first to get Troy's number because he couldn't remember who he spoke with, but yeah.
And Troy said the other thing, if, since a government entity, if we wanted to run it, then we don't need to state
Correct.
inspected. So if the council wants to, councilmen want to be the,
If we want the city.
that'd be
to
good
take-
outreach.
It
for
would
you
be.
guys. Election
It would
years.
be, what a great idea.
Election years. and
Yeah,
great
but,
outreach.
I mean, you could use that for your election. You just have to
Brad, you go ahead.
cipher the money back to the
I've
city.
made that statement before, we need to stay the hell out of it.
I concur.
Let the vendor pass all the inspections necessary.
I concur.
But,
But we need to have it so that they can.
Yes.
So-
right, ultimately, it's us, so,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we need to make it so that it passes inspection and we rent it out to somebody else
Yeah.
or give it to.
That is part of our contract, is that we will make sure that
Yeah.
anything that needs done to it, we will do to it in order to keep
And I'll bet
state
you won't spend
inspections.
$200 to put that sink in there.
No,
and make it-
not if we get by with that
and make
basic.
it be legal. I'm absolutely certain that, because that's our hand washing sink, is that, as soon as I brought it up, I said it. Because you have to have the food prep area, can't be attached to the sewer. It has to be an open gap, that sink.
Yep,
And we're
We
already,
got that
we
one.
already have that. Yep, so.
we got a grease trap, but that's for us, right?
The grease trap, well, the renter of the station was always supposed to take care of it, but it was the baseball association that took care of it.
Yeah.
I don't know that the city ever even opened the lid on that.
I opened it up.
Okay,
Yeah, it is. I don't like it.
well, there's just a grease on top, scoop it out. When we had the old bleachers, scoop it out and go pour it underneath the bleachers, kill the weeds. Just grease.
But other than that, I don't have anything. I mean, what's the other?
I think we're still waiting on the city attorney to approve the notice for bid for Bailey's.
Okay,
And then once that's approved, and we are going to ask that Randy Kittle from the state get some approval on it as well before we go out for it. And then they say, the feds tell us that we worded it incorrectly, like we did with our easement with the county 3 different times. So rather than taking a chance, because it is federal funds, and not wanting to get in trouble with federal grant money when we have so many other federal grants out there, we're gonna get some approval from the state and federal level too on that notice for bid.
Is all our work done on the 3 fields out there that we were planning on doing, Marty?
No.
Or do we have left?
we
some
got
left?
stuff left to do, and this
And
grant.
still waiting, did we get the full grant?
Yeah, so it was a 50/50 grant.
Yeah.
And we did get it,
Okay.
but we have to go out for
140
bid
some
for it, because it's a capital improvement.
Yep.
And it's 100,000 is the capital improvement bid law, and the whole entire project is estimated at 149,000 or something to that effect. So because of that, we have to go out for bid. Now, it's gonna be similar to what we did with the halfway house or the highway project. You don't have to bid all of it, because ultimately Marty is going to be your manager. Troy and Marty would be the manager.
Yep.
And so there's one section that will be playground equipment, one section that will be fence cap, one section that will be backstop. I'm just making those up. I think
Yep.
those are the things that are on there. You can bid all of
Each with
them,
their own bid rules.
or you
Yeah.
can bid one, and that's ultimately what will happen, is most people just bid one, if we get some bids. But we have to do the bid process, so that we can hopefully get that taken care of. The other problem that comes in with it is when they're doing these, I do believe because it's federal money, there are certain labor laws that come into effect too, that you have to follow specific, you have to keep track of this, you have to guarantee that you're paying them the amount that the feds say is correct. And so where we're doing the labor, I think there's gonna be some paperwork on our end to make sure that all of that is correct, since it's our labor that's going into it. So that's the thing that we need to make sure that Randy verifies that we have worded in there correctly. Because that is correct, right, Marty? We're gonna do all the labor?
I would, yeah, that's what I
Okay,
was
you're
assuming.
putting the
Yeah,
playground equipment together, putting the backstops
Yeah.
in, and, okay, that's what I thought. But because it's our labor, even though we're not being reimbursed for our labor, they're still gonna, federal grants are wonderful, but there's a lot of steps to
Lot of
follow
hoops.
so that you don't get it taken away and break a federal law. But,
Sometimes you're better off through the project without federal grants, just because of those regulations.
sometimes, yes. But if we can get
But you have to-
$75,000 to help us with this. So once we've gone out for bid, we get those strict numbers, because in that bid, it is good for the remainder of the project. They have to honor those numbers. So even if it takes us 3 years to get it done, and we will list that in the notice that, this is a project for 2024, 2025, 2026, have to list those years in there. So even if it takes us 3 years, what they bid in 2024 is what we will be paying for it. So once we get that, then we will be asking council to create a capital improvement fund. It's a 500 fund, and we will ask for cash from the general fund to go into this 500 fund to support this. That way it's not screwing around with your parks budget. Everything for that will come strictly out of that 500 fund.
Okay.
And then all the revenue in will come out of that too.
So Marty, I have a question on the dead tree out at the cemetery. When the ground freezes up, is the plan to take that down?
Never thought about it, but it needs to come out of there.
That one on the corner?
That one on those four corners, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's,
Because that tree is completely dead.
yep, it's
now.
dead as dead. It can be,
So I would sure recommend waiting until we get a frozen ground so that the pieces that drop don't punch a big hole and stuff
Right.
like that.
we'll have to get the light guys to help us
I
top it.
agree.
But,
And
yeah.
We need to be extremely careful on headstones. Even if we had to put a 2x4 rack
We'll
over
put
top
a cover
of
of
it.
some sort.
I just thought, I read somewhere where somebody has pallets to give away that you can just take them. A pallet, a series of pallets around them would prevent a whole lot of damage and not cost us a darn penny. I think,
I would assume the city's got a few pallets down there. that
Yeah,
they
well,
use
we
too.
could scrounge pallets. We
Yeah.
always can.
we always have pallets,
Well, we do,
because that would
Our
work really
neighbors.
well if you just tied a bunch of them together around the tombstone.
yeah.
Then no tree could hit it, because we'll get in trouble if
Oh,
a
yeah,
tree
that's-
hits one. That might be a good use.
I'm glad you brought that up. That was not even on my radar, but
Well,
yeah.
that's why we have committees.
Yeah, but yeah, well, that needs to come down.
Yeah. And then my next question is, I noticed, and I know my brother has a spot that people were cutting the corner and driving around, or driving across, where his spot is gonna be. I said, well, you won't care when you're in there, but, I've noticed we have like 6 or 7 pipes stopping people from cutting the corners. Is there any thought of replacing those pipes with a tree?
Yeah?
Because Rotary every year puts trees
Puts
up.
trees out.
And maybe with a plan to Rotary that, let's put a tree here, here, and here. Because to me, the pipes aren't near as good looking
Look a little tacky.
as it, tacky isn't really the word, but they serve the purpose.
Right.
But if we took the pipe out and put a tree in it, but
As long as
what-
you
what
ask
kind of-
the Legion
what kind of
folks if it'll be in
trouble
their
will the
way.
roots from a tree do to that corner grave? Is there any danger of that, Mark? I mean, we have a lot of trees
Yeah.
on the corners.
Yeah. They're all
So that
over.
must not
Yeah,
be a
And
we
big
used to
old
have a
trees.
ton more, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you're always gonna get.
We always, I mean, there's places we hit roots
Yeah,
all the
okay.
time and stuff. and-
Okay,
It'd be more a worry of your sprinkler system than
Yeah.
the,
okay.
Which,
Yeah,
corner,
but
there's
roots
nothing
are
on the
below
corners.
sprinklers, yeah. So
Sprinkler-wise.
that might be my suggestion to you is think about
Okay.
notifying Rotary that here's where we want trees, and let them put their trees on those corners instead of those white pipes. Because that'll solve the
Yeah.
same problem.
It's time to develop that south part a little more too. There's
Yeah.
getting
But,
big.
there's maybe 8 pipes in the whole cemetery,
Probably.
right? 8 or 8, I don't think there's a dozen of them.
No, that's-
They're on the east end, aren't they, in Old Park?
They're on the west.
On the west too?
Most
There's
of
a
the
couple on
pipes
the
are on
east.
the west, yeah,
Yeah,
where the trees aren't.
yeah. How is the ground coming for building that up on the south?
They hauled a couple different times this summer.
That's why I saw that, yeah.
And that's where we're putting our dirt from graves, and it's getting there,
Slowly but surely.
yeah. But I'd say the next 2 years, we gotta get
We're
going,
gonna have to open that up, aren't we?
yeah.
we have people asking if they can
People need
purchase
to
over
quit
there
dying.
yet.
We should do an ordinance.
We were behind the pace of last year until this week.
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw.
I was actually gonna mention that, you guys, Marty and his people down there, the amount of burials that they've got this weekend, Christmas weekend is insane. And they do a fabulous
We
job,
had 5 this week.
yeah.
I didn't just know that.
Well, that's like out at Golden Prairie. From the time I started working there, we were anywhere from 7 to 9 rooms empty all the 3 years that I've worked there. This last summer, we had every room filled, and now we've got 4 empty. I mean, just happens.
Yep.
You'd be surprised how much goes into digging a grave, getting it all set up. And I know that we don't,
There's
I mean,
your spotter for the next one you do.
Brandy gets a phone call from the folks at the funeral home. She lines it up with Marty and them, and then you gotta work with the vault company. You have to work with the tombstone company. You've got all these different things, and sometimes the vault company calls and says, can you put some special markers there, because we don't know directions. Because there's 2 burials within 2 days of each other that are in the same block, and they wanna make sure they're putting them in the right place, and I get all that. And
We only dig one at a time. They called and said,
Yeah.
make sure you mark them. I said, no, that's my biggest fear is of
Yep.
setting up on the wrong one.
Yep.
So
Yep.
we just dig one at a time.
so I can't say enough for.
Yeah, you set it in the hole.
Yeah. I can't say enough for Marty and his guys and how great they are to work with from our standpoint. The funeral home has a great relationship with them. They will stop what they're doing when somebody has questions about, I need to go out there and make sure who I'm gonna be buried next to, because those questions come up a lot. And so Marty and his guys down there do a phenomenal job. Right. Sorry to give you a plug
No,
there, Marty,
well,
but
thank you though.
Very good.
And so is there a plan on the entrance to Winter at the Winter sign? And that turned out to be a tough deal. We were gonna get a bidder or not?
I kind of left that up to Troy.
That's all.
I want to stay
We
on.
did
it.
have
I
a
got
bid,
enough-
but they never did fall through.
Yeah, and then,
Who's that?
I think they put it onto the streets committee.
Okay,
yeah, the one guy, I think he's gone. He
yeah,
left.
I think he's gone, that's what I
So,
heard.
Well, did we have, wasn't that Coach's?
yeah.
Yeah, but there's another outfit. We just had our church done.
Platt, I think, was the next one.
I thought he was from Gregory, but maybe not.
Are we good to shut off?
Yeah.
We're off.